claim to fame is that I had the privilege of teaching them in undergrad. So they were my students. They're going to outstrip me in the future, that I know. I'm going to read a few pages from my book, Another Country. Chapter 5 starts like this. One of my earliest memories comes from 1972 when I was 4 or 5 years old. It is a memory about race. My dad owned a big 1958 model cream Vauxhall. I used to love driving with him to the garage in Lansdowne Road to fill the car with petrol for 2 reasons. There were always stickers or plastic decals to buy and add to my collection, and because the men who worked the petrol pumps were always so friendly to me, frequently giving me doubles, stickers that others had left behind. I called them Ndala and always left happy. My dad frequently told me not to call these men uncle. They were black, he said, as if that explained everything. I ignored him. I called these men uncle because they were older than me. My parents had taught me to respect my elders and to be polite. I was a child. They were my elders, and besides, they were nice to me. A few years later, in 1976, the year of the Soweto student uprising, my dad, a storeman in a government job, was promoted and we moved to Johannesburg. On the 21st of June, we packed up and left Cape Town. After what seemed to an 8-year-old an interminable drive up the N1, we suddenly pulled over to the side of the road. We were near Uncle Charlie's, a large intersection outside Johannesburg, and my mom had been taking a turn to drive. Look, it says, warning, Bantu Township ahead, she whispered, panic evident in her voice as she pointed into the middle distance. My dad slid over into the driving seat and we drove in silence the last 40 kilometers to our new home in Edenvale. My parents frequently spoke in whispers about that day, about riots, communists, passbooks, stayaways, and about black people and danger in the same breath. My parents were afraid, and somehow their fear began to seep under my skin, along with belligerence towards black people. That was also the first time we had a black woman domestic worker in our house. By 1979, at the age of 12, I was a converted racist, hateful, fearful, privileged, and entitled. How did this happen? And so quickly? Fear was certainly one way. My parents were genuinely fearful for our safety in our first years in Johannesburg. My mom, working in the retail sector, experienced firsthand the stayaways and violence against members of her staff who did not participate in the mass action. Our domestic worker, who worked tirelessly, cooking, cleaning, and babysitting while my parents were at work, soon became the object of derision and scorn from my brother and I. We dropped our dirty clothes on the floor where we took them off. We left our plates unwashed and our beds unmade, and generally taunted her. When we found her sleeping during work hours, we bribed, teased, and threatened her. When she was arrested for being without a passbook and was jailed for the weekend, we mocked her and stole money from her. And when she had been drinking, we ridiculed her, made her stand still, and threw darts at her feet. We were never told off by my parents, who admittedly were not around to see our base behavior. But going to Veld School later that year reinforced my right to treat black people badly. The messages were clear. Guard duty was necessary at night to protect our camp from black terrorists. Reverence was shown for God, who gave white South Africans this land under a covenant. And it was a duty to fight for your country against the ungodly communists who were seeking to take it over. Later that same year, I had my first letter to a newspaper published. It concerned what I termed the unfairness of the public transport system. It was school holidays, and I had just finished watching Star Trek and was about to go skating at the Carlton Ice Rink. 12 Pudco buses designated for black people only passed where I was waiting before one whites-only bus arrived. Completely indignant, I wrote to the newspaper to complain. I was oblivious to the fact about segregation, to the fact about the privilege of owning cars, of being able to skate, watch films, nor did I give any thought to the many opportunities I had that black South Africans did not. What was I thinking of writing such a letter? What was the Star newspaper thinking by publishing it? My sense of entitlement and privilege was by now so ingrained that it took many years before I eventually cringed in horror at the arrogance of my letter and my behavior towards our domestic worker. But the year I turned 15 was a momentous year for me as a white South African. It marked a number of awakenings. My brother joined the South African Police Force as a permanent member, hoping to avoid conscription into the South African Defence Force. It nearly destroyed him. By the end of his basic training, he was so filled with hatred for black people that my dad had to twice physically stop him from driving his Opel Kadett into a group of black men on the side of the road. My parents eventually brought him out of the police force, and he was promptly sent to Palaboa to train as a SADF sapper responsible for clearing mines. But later that year, I had a spiritual awakening and a political awakening. I became involved with a Christian youth organization. One evening I attended a meeting in a Johannesburg suburb where for the first time in my life, black and white people sat together as equals in the same lounge. The group was planning a conference to bring people together and also to run holiday camps for young people across the Calabar. Towards the end of the meeting, people were suggesting topics for prayer. A middle-aged white woman said, "Let's pray for the boys on the border." And the woman sitting opposite her, also middle-aged, also white, asked without skipping a beat, "Which side?" That sunk in. I spent a lot of time that year meeting people not like me in houses, in suburbs and on camps. I learnt about a South Africa of which I was until then quite oblivious. My history teacher at Sandringham High School, a member of the banned South African Communist Party, introduced me to Pambili books. And there I read a copy of the Communist Manifesto as well as a copy of the Freedom Charter. I read about justice and compassion in the Bible and about racism, struggle and inequality from the books I acquired from Pambili. I used both approaches in my work with young people and in the camps I ran over the few years. I stopped singing the national anthem at school. But the rest of my story that I use in the book is really about what I've called cycles of consciousness. The first slide that you'll see up on the screen, I'm not sure if you can see it too well, it's just a little cycle that talks about when I was 5, 8, 12, 15, 21 and 27. And if I had more space, I would tell you that in my 20s there were multiple cycles of consciousness, and in my 30s there were multiple cycles of consciousness, and actually in my 40s there are still multiple cycles of consciousness. And that's why I thought this book was really important. It is a book that does two things, really. It talks about a number of issues in our country about remembering the past now, as Crane has reminded us 22, 23 years into our democracy. But why should we have this conversation now? Surely we should have had this conversation a long time ago. One of the young men that I introduced, that I interviewed in the book, his name in the book is Welile. He says at the end of the interview, "Maybe if you had told me this is what we were going to talk about, I wouldn't have come." Because this is one of those conversations that we try to avoid. We are kind of afraid that what you're going to say is going to hurt other people. There are a lot of things that haven't been said. There's still a lot of anger. We forget about these things. It's a wound that you just want to let heal. But at the end of the day, it's what separates us. This was a good platform for me to say how I really feel about what is going on out there. We don't get this chance. A lot of people will open up, they've got a lot to say, but we don't have the right platforms, and that's why you still get a lot of racist fights. So what I've tried to do in the book is I've tried to invite more and more people into this conversation about our past, its injustice, and what we need to be doing to be a different kind of country going forward in the future. Stories that I think many white South Africans probably share. We got it in 94, and then we got it in 2001, and then we got it in 2013, and then we got it when the student protests start. But in between, what do? We keep cycling in and out of consciousness, and we start saying things like, "Oh, I'm not going to do anything about restitution until the corruption stops," or we hear ourselves say, "Well, actually, we've worked for what we have. Really, people must just work, and they will also come to get the wealth that we have." So that's one of the things that I do, is my own story in cycling, but I also want to ask people to join the conversation. If I look at that new pentangle, I am all of those things at some point in my life, and sometimes each of them simultaneously. And I think that to widen that conversation invites more people to come and have this conversation about restitution, because I would like us, the vision is for us to be a different kind of country in the future. So what I do in the first part of the book is I tell Black South African stories that they've told me in these interviews, because I've interviewed 60 people across the spectrum with the help of some of my research assistants. Those stories are stories that you may not have heard if you're a white South African. And if you're a Black South African, there are also stories that you probably won't believe are still happening in 2014, 2015, and 2016. So that's really important, that we understand the depth of our inhumanity to each other still now, because it hasn't gone away. The second thing that I do then with stories is I tell white people's stories. And Black South Africans, you also will be amazed, because there will be as much shame and anger at how we are not who we want to be as there will be racism and betrayal. And those are stories that need to be heard too. And I think I've tried to package it in a way that we can read, and it won't just beat us over the head, but I'm hoping it will inspire us to do something. I also tell a few stories about the cost of apartheid in money, actual money. I tell a particular story of somebody whose family was removed from a suburb in Cape Town to Mitchell's Plain, and then later moved back into a suburb later on. And what is the loss in actual financial terms to that person right now? Well, it's 933,614 Rand. And then I tell a story about that family's land claim. And you won't believe that while the land claim was successful, that the payout for 2 farms in the Eastern Cape was 18,000 Rand. 18,000 Rand. If you just look it up in Property 24, a small plot in the Eastern Cape now goes for about 2 million Rand each. So yes, we have land reform, but it's certainly not meeting the kind of restitution that we had envisaged during the TRC and before. And then I tell another story about the same family and what I call the soldier's reward. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people know. I didn't believe a lot of this when I read it. And so I'm guessing that many of you will also not have known about some of these things, about how much people are being paid for land claims. Some of you will, because you've experienced it firsthand. But Haley, the character in my book, person that I interviewed, and I'm using pseudonyms for all my respondents, had a grandfather who fought in the Second World War. When people came back, if you were a white South African, you got a pension, possibly some land, maybe sometimes on the coast, perhaps up the coast. It may have become the original holiday homes that white South Africans now have. If you were coloured or Indian or Asian, you got a bicycle when you came back from the war. And if you were black, you got a Bible. So when we walked around the castle, the pilgrimage that we did really helped us to understand some of the many, many, many injustices that we haven't even begun to speak about. And so yes, there is white anger and white shame, and it's time, I think, for us to deal with it. And what I do at the end of the book, because I don't want us all just to kind of hang our heads in horror and desperation, I want us to have something to do to go forward. And the thing that I've asked for us to do, I'm inviting us to do, is to grab a group of 10 people who are different to you. Now I know that that's already going to be a problem, because while we are not divided in our universities and our workplaces as much as we are in our communities and in our churches or faith communities, we are still really divided. But if you've got a group of 10 people together, black, white, coloured, Indian, and you spoke about how the past still lives on in our lives, you might be surprised at those answers. And it might be really important to listen. You probably wouldn't be surprised to realize that for many white South Africans, their lives now is no different to 23 years ago or 44 years ago. The privilege is the same. But for black South Africans, yes, some things have changed, but not much has changed, and certainly not enough has changed. So the challenge and the invitation from this book and other countries to get together with 10 people unlike you and to have a discussion, a dialogue about restitution. I want to make this plug because there's an app, for those of you who are young enough to know what an app is, to download on your phone. because it actually will just help guide the conversation. So having the conversation is easy. It's in the book, it's on an app, it's on the website, we can print it out on a piece of paper. But finding the will to find 10 people and to have a conversation every week, for I would recommend about 10 weeks, is one of the ways I think we can start to not just talk, but then to come up with ideas for action. The people that I interviewed in my book came up with over 250 ideas for restitution action that individuals and communities can do. No longer any excuses for not being able to do restitution. But what is needed, I think, and what I'm hoping that my book would invite you to do, is to have the courage to accept this challenge of building another country, one small group, one dialogue group at a time. Thank you very much.